The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this Wednesday morning. You know I love Wednesdays, and typically we start out the show with Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grandpichet is usually here to answer your questions. Now, unfortunately, she is not here with us today. As we mentioned to you last week, she is in Florida. She's going to be doing a speaking engagement in Florida tomorrow night. I understand there are still one or two seats available. If you want to attend that event, you can. It's in the Fort Myer area of Florida. You will need to RSVP immediately before those seats are gone. You want to go to centerforautism.com, follow the tabs to, there's a place on the front page where you can click on it. Follow that to where you RSVP for that really wonderful event. It's a great opportunity to meet Dr. Grandpichet in person and to hear her speak. I can attest to the fact that that is life-changing. She's an amazing woman, and she has information that is helpful and useful to all of us. So I encourage you to attend that event. Unfortunately, it meant that she was unable to be with us here this week, as we mentioned last week. Last week, she did the first segment of the anxiety show. You guys have been asking for this for a long time, where all she talked about the entire episode was anxiety. We'll be doing the second half of that next week. I loved last week, though, because it really laid the groundwork of explaining anxiety, what it means in the DSM-4, and what the changes are to the DSM-5. And I think you'll find it really interesting and helpful and informative if you're dealing with anxiety issues or you have a child who's dealing with anxiety issues. And as we heard Dr. Grandpichet say, that if you as a parent have anxiety issues, your child on the autism spectrum is very likely at some point to deal with some of those same issues. So you want to get in front of it and have an idea of what you're dealing with and who might be helpful in getting that all-important intervention for those kinds of things. I can attest to the fact that if you get intervention, it can be very, very helpful. In any case, so part one of the anxiety show is available for you on YouTube right now, and part two will happen live next week. And you can be writing in your questions about anxiety for Dr. Grandpichet for next week. Now, always the second hour we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. So we have a very special topic that we wanted to talk about with you this morning. So we've extended Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy will be here in just a few minutes. And in this first hour, we're going to be talking about a documentary that's being made called Fearless Journey. We have the filmmaker here and the star of this film. And believe me, this is a topic that you're gonna love. You're gonna find this so interesting. A young man who made a decision. He's on the spectrum, and he made a decision that he wanted to be a world traveler. And all of this has been being documented, and we're gonna explain all of this and give you an opportunity to ask the filmmaker and Chris himself, the young man on the spectrum who's partaking of this journey, questions in real time. So let's take care of some business, and then we'll start this off. But first of all, I want to remind you that we're in the middle of our holiday giveaway extravaganza. That's right. Every hour that we're on the air now until the final show of the year, which is on December 20th, we are going to be giving some wonderful toys and some wonderful gifts away to you. Things that I think you'll just really enjoy. And the way this works is that we will announce sometime in the first part of the show, we'll announce what the gift of the hour is. Then throughout that hour, at some point, Emily will flash a word or a phrase on the screen. When she does that, you want to make sure that you write down that word or phrase and remember what it is that's being given away. And you're going to want to send us an email to this address that Emily's going to put on the screen for you. You need to put in the subject line, you need to put what the item is that you're hoping to win, because some hours we have more than one thing. It's very exciting. And then in the body of the email, you want to put the word or the phrase that Emily showed on the screen. And send it off to this address. It must arrive to us by 7 a.m. Pacific time the next morning. Of the correct responses, one will be chosen for each gift. We will let you know via email whether you have won, and then you'll need to send us back your address so that we can get your gift off in the mail to you before the holiday is over. So we've already given away some amazing things, and we have so much more to give away. As I've said, my office looks like Santa exploded. There's so much good stuff that's left in there. You're really going to be excited. So kicking that off this morning, I want to let you know that the item to be given away this hour is another Skills subscription for one child for 6 months. Skills, as you know, is a wonderful tool that I personally love. So you have the opportunity to use that for 6 months for one child. And we're going to be giving one of those away. So be watching during the hour for when we show the word or the phrase that you'll need to email us by 7 a.m. tomorrow. And in the next hour, we have something else fabulous to give away as well. So, having said all of that, remember this show is meant to be interactive. We want to hear your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, and your questions. And Emily's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us here. I'm going to remind you that if you go to www.autism-live.com, which you see on the screen before you, you're going to see a desktop. And on the desktop sits a computer. Click on the little arrow on the computer and you can watch either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. You can also scroll through recent shows in the lineup and see if there's something that you missed that you want to catch up on. But next to that screen is a long, thin white box. That's the live feature. Put your cursor there, type away, hit enter, and it shows up here. There's a slight delay, but it shows up here on the screen. So as we talk to this filmmaker and as we talk to this young man who is touring around the world, if there's something that you want to ask, type it in, hit enter, and it shows up here and we can ask in real time. Remember that that is totally free. There is no login. We're not looking for any of your personal information. In fact, we don't know who you are. So if you've got total anonymity, if there's something you want us to get back to you about, you will need to include some personal information. I have a way of editing that out so that we don't show it to the audience at home. It will just be between us, as it should be. But it is free to you, and so we encourage you to interact with us. It makes it very rich and exciting when we have an opportunity to be talking to you in real time. All right. All that having been said, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back with Nancy for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We've got some great news stories for you, but stay tuned because a little bit later in the hour, we're going to be talking about Fearless Journey, a film that you're going to want to see and that you're going to want to take part in. And we're going to tell you how you can help to make that possible. So stick with us. More after these messages. Hi, we're at the Toys R Us in Porter Ranch, California. And Emily and I are going to take a little tour around the store and find some great toys for some great kids.
All right, let's go.
Come with us.
Yes.
Okay, bring your dinosaur and come on. Let's go look at things in the game aisle.
Okay.
I know you love games.
I do look.
All right. So here we are in the game aisle, Emily, and I want to show you that there's all these games that you can get for kids of all ages. They're interactive and really remarkable. One of the hot toys this year and many other years is the Bop It toy.
Okay, so what about the Bop It is so reinforcing?
Well, you know what? It can be interactive. It can be a social game. It makes lots of noises. Sometimes they light up depending on the version. It helps to work on fine motor skills and it helps to work on fluency. This toy will grow with the child, and in fact, you can get it in different versions. This is a little bit more complex version. And up top here, we have one that's especially for older kids. It's called the Smash the Light. I would wait until a child is older to play with this one. So should we check out the Lego aisle?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go. So how can we use Legos to help our kids?
Well, they're really spectacular toys for our kids because they work on executive functions and planning. They're really colorful. You can work on colors and grouping and matching, counting because they have the little dots on the top. And if you have a younger child, you can start with the Duplo toys that are compatible with Lego and they don't have the choking hazard.
So then as the kids get older, what's great about Legos, it looks like, is that there's all sorts of themes. We've got movies here and video games, so the kids can really connect with what's personal to them. So Legos are amazing, but what else do we have to see?
Let's look at some educational toys in the leapfrog aisle, shall we? Okay.
Okay, so what do you have here?
Well, we're in the leapfrog aisle. This particular toy, very popular this year, is a leap reader. It comes with a little pen, and it tells us that we're going to read, write, and listen, all skills that we want to work on with a child. This pen that's in this box, you can put it over different pages in the book. It will read aloud to the child. They can trace their letters. It reinforces them for doing a great job. It's a really spectacular toy for our younger kids that are working on reading, writing, and listening.
This looks like a lot of fun and a really great way to help our kids learn to read and write.
Absolutely.
What else are we going to play with today?
I think we should take a trip down the functional pretend play aisle. This is where you're going to find all the things that are like real, but the toy version. So I've got this lovely set here that's all fresh vegetables, so I'm teaching nutrition at the same time. They're all appropriately colored. I've got a knife so I can be cutting them too. This is really great play for a young child.
Shannon, I heard you got some toys that I get to play with now.
Yes, I'm going to take you to the demo table. We're going to let Emily play with some toys, and we're going to be giving some of these toys away on the show. But they're not just any toys. These are toys that are featured in this year's Toys R Us toy guide for differently abled children. And this is put together with the help of our friends at Lecotech.
So what do all these different icons mean?
These are different icons that tell us what skill this toy might help to develop in our children.
So can I play with the toys now?
Yes, it's time to play with the toys, Emily.
So I think I recognize this guy.
Yes, this is the ever popular and very sweet Elmo. But this is a very specific Elmo that teaches adaptive skills like zippering.
Almost yellow triangle zipper.
And so we get the reinforcement of Elmo talking to us when we do these things. There's a let's keep playing. So it encourages the child to continue to interact. And he's very reinforcing. When he giggles, I just want to hug him and play with him some more. Okay, so moving on, let's look at some Melissa and Doug toys. These are incredible toys. They'll last several different generations because they're made out of good quality wood.
Awesome.
And let's start with a lace and trace toy. Now, I happen to know that you love turtles,
I do
Emily.
love turtles.
And this is a set of farm animals lace and trace. And the child can pick out a color that they like for a lace.
All right.
And there are lots of different things that they can do with this. And I know it might seem like this is an old-fashioned toy, but you know, sometimes the old-fashioned toys are the best toys. Because what you're doing right now, Emily, is that you're using a lot of hand-eye coordination and you're using the pincer grasp. This is a precursor to writing right here. If you've got a child who's having difficulty holding a pencil, this is a really reinforcing way to work on this. And it comes in lots of different things. And then also for Melissa and Doug, we have this amazing switch and spin. Love this so much. This is a great cause and effect toy. As we start to put the gears together, we notice that when you turn one, another one can turn. You can rearrange this and do it in lots of different ways. There are 10 design boards, so you don't have to just do fish. There are other things that you can put there instead.
That's awesome.
Kids love this toy, and it's another Melissa and Doug toy.
Cool.
All right, let's take a look at some fun games.
So I found this game, and it's called Fibber. So Shannon, I'm going to need you to put on your fibbing glasses.
I want a fib.
All right. So this game is totally reinforcing, and it helps our kids to work on lying.
Yes, and that's something we really, I know it sounds strange, but we want to work on that because being able to tell a lie is something that helps with safety issues. And also being able to tell if somebody else is lying is a really useful life skill.
What you need to do is get rid of your cards without trying to grow your nose, kind of like Pinocchio.
Okay.
But if you get caught,
And so eventually you can have a whole string of noses attached to the end of your nose. Very colorful. Again, we can be working on the colors. Kind of hilarious. A kid's going to want to play this with mom or dad and see that mom is Pinocchio telling lots of lies. I like this game a lot.
this is a great game.
We've had a really great time at Toys R Us, and all of the toys that you see here on the table we're going to be giving away on the show. So stay tuned to find out how you can win one of these great toys. Welcome back to Autism Live and to a special extended version of Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We wanted to start off with a little in the news and an update that we weren't able to give you yesterday, but I know you'll be thrilled to hear this. I'm sharing it from the Autism Daily Newscast, that a missing child from the Bronx who is on the autism spectrum was successfully found. A 12-year-old boy who was described by the Department of Education as high-functioning autistic, has been found wandering around Times Square, Manhattan, after being reported missing after walking out of PS 188 on Caldwell Avenue at around 10:30 on Monday morning, December 2nd. He was found after safely walking from Caldwell Avenue to Times Square by the Truancy Task Force, who were called to the scene and arrived at the school 6 minutes after the boy was reported missing. Police surveyed the area by helicopter and on foot, joined by local residents, some of whom talked to New York News's Channel 12, saying that they had called in October, for security measures at the school in the district to be stepped up. Of course, we've been reporting to you about Avante, and Avante is still missing, but I'm happy that there was a successful ending to this story, and it really brings home the fact that there needs to be more security at these New York schools as well as schools across the country. But so exciting that the machine in which to look for the child appears to have stepped up exponentially. We talk about antecedent modifications and consequence modifications and how important they both are. It's great that the consequence modification has been stepped up by the police, but now the antecedent modification before this happens needs to be stepped up by the education system, both in New York City and around the country. Also, other good news, we are so happy and thrilled to report that JP Morgan Chase, somebody who's been in the news quite a bit lately and not all of it positive, has decided to add autism benefits to their employee health plan. This is very exciting for anybody who works for them. They are finally participating, effective January 1st, 2014, in intensive behavioral therapy treatment for autism spectrum disorders, such as applied behavior analysis, ABA therapy. It will now be covered for employees and their families. The quote from them, JP Morgan Chase is excited to offer ABA therapy and provide this important treatment alternative for children of our employees, said Stephen Cutler, JP Morgan Chase General Counsel and advisor to Accessibility, the firm's business resource group for employees affected by disabilities. 1 in 88 children is diagnosed with autism, with almost 160,000 employees enrolled in our U.S. medical plan. We are confident that this important new offering will change the lives of many of our employees, and we are equally confident that it will, and we are so pleased and proud of you for doing the right thing instead of waiting for the lawsuits that will be coming for all the other companies who have not participated in this kind of insurance change. They went on to say that for many years, my son was unable to receive the necessary treatment he needs due to lack of insurance treatment coverage. This change will allow us to provide a therapy that will help him prosper, says Michael Giangerio, the vice president in U.S. fixed income at JP Morgan Chase. Thank you to the leadership of JP Morgan Chase for recognizing this need and for taking the necessary steps to help ensure that my son reaches his fullest potential. ABA therapy, as we know, focuses on increasing positive behaviors while reducing those that cause harm. We constantly review our benefits program and offerings to make sure that they address the needs of our employees and their families, says John Donnelly, the head of human resources at JP Morgan Chase & Company. I am particularly pleased about this new benefit, as I have been actively involved in helping children with autism as a supporter of Healing Autism, a program sponsored by Guiding Eyes for the Blind that enhances safety, companionship, and opportunities for independence for autistic children. So hip, hip, hooray for JP Morgan Chase, and we hope that more companies will do likewise. If you're watching and your company has begun covering this kind of intervention, please let us know. We'd like to give them a thumbs up, and if there's a company that is particularly not paying attention, I can think of a few, let us know. We'd be happy to give them a push in the right direction, right? interesting study, and I find this so fascinating, about people with autism being more likely to hear colors and see sounds. Yes, you heard me correct. I did not say it wrong. People with autism may be more likely than others to have synesthesia, a condition in which people experience a mixing of their senses, such as hearing, tastes, and shapes, and seeing numbers and colors, a new study from Europe suggests. And I know I've met many parents whose children have reported exactly this phenomenon. Researchers tested 164 people with autism and 97 people without autism by giving them online questionnaire designed to evaluate whether they had synesthesia. They found synesthesia occurred in about 7% of people who didn't have autism, a figure within the range of previously reported rateship. In contrast, 19% of people with autism appeared to have synesthesia, according to the study that was published in November in the journal Molecular Autism. The findings may prove new insights into common factors. Absolutely fascinating, and it brings up a conversation that if you're able to, with a child, verbally or on an iPad, to discuss, it isn't something, most parents report that it isn't something they hear from their children until they're a little bit older, because in their world and their understanding, they assume that everyone can see things in color. And so it isn't until a much later age that these kinds of things are found out. But as you've heard me report before on the show, one of my favorite books about autism, A Real Boy, written by Christina Adams, who has been on our show, there's a moment in her book where she realizes that her son has synesthesia, and she has a recollection that when she was a child, that she could also see colors in sounds. So very interesting part of her book. In any case, we're going to take a short break. We've got more news to report to later on in the show, but we're going to take a short break, and we are going to begin to discuss a very important film that I know that you're going to want to participate in. It's called Fearless Journey, and in just a moment, we are going to be joined by the filmmaker who is making this film possible. Lydia Nibley is with us, and she's going to be talking about Fearless Journey. So stick with us. You're going to want to hear how you can participate.
Hello, fellow activists. In our last segment, we talked about step number 2, educate yourself. Step number 3 is get support. Now, any journey can feel overwhelming if you feel like you're walking it alone. Well, you're far from alone, because with 1 in 50 kids diagnosed with autism today, there are a lot of us out there. Of course, there's always the issue of financial support. Now, there's a handful of organizations out there that offer financial support to families in need. ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today, is one of them. Visit our website at www.act-today.org to find out more about our grant process. I want to talk about a different kind of support today, emotional support. Now, you can get that from other travelers on this path. Some of the best advice I've ever received is from the moms of other kids with autism who went to school with Wyatt or were involved with programs with him. Then there are
Welcome back. I'm busy sitting here and chatting away. In any case, welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Our very special guest here in the studio with us is Lydia Nibley. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's a delight to have you here. I want you to tell our audience at home about Fearless Journey.
Fearless Journey is a documentary film that we are going to set in the most interesting, remote, and populated, exciting places in the world, as much as we can fund and film, to go on a fearless journey with Chris Farrell, who is an amazing young man on the autism spectrum who was told he was going to be institutionalized as a child. His mother fought for him and worked for him, and he, of course, took on his own challenges in a really amazing way, and now he travels the world alone with very little money in his pocket to go on these grand adventures where he explores his own life, the peoples of the world, the places of the world, with a level of enthusiasm and passion that I think audiences will be really inspired by.
Absolutely. And there's a way that we can all participate in this film to ensure that it gets made. Tell us how we can do that.
Go to fearlessjourneyfilm.org and you'll see information about the film, our plan for making it, our request to have organizations join us as educational partners, donors, and that very important philanthropic need to raise the money to make the film, which can come in, increments of $15 or $15,000 or $150,000, and we'll get this film made and distributed widely.
Yes, you can participate, and we can't say that enough. You at home can participate and ensure that this film that is full of hope gets finished and made. So we are going to take a break here and look at the trailer from this film and show people exactly why you want to be a part of this. So take a look. This is from Fearless Journey.
Hi, I'm Chris Farrell. I stock grocery shelves.
I met Chris in my local grocery store. You know how in a neighborhood you just kind of get to know people, and so we were friends in that way.
When I was 4, I was diagnosed with autism, and nobody believed in me. Everyone thought that I was going to live in an institution my whole life.
I got concerned when he hadn't been into work for a couple of weeks, and I asked his manager, "Where's Chris?" And he said, "He's in Addis Ababa."
Yeah.
Addis Ababa, Ethiopia? So that was the way I got who you were.
I was there for just under 2 months, and it was one of my longest trips.
How did you have the money to be for 2 months in Ethiopia?
The way I travel, I can do it very cheaply. I took buses that were filled only with other Ethiopians rather than with other tourists. I stay with locals, and I hitchhike and things like that. So I've been to 27 countries on 6 continents. I love to work, and I really enjoy what I do.
My own biases about someone like Chris and my imposition of ideas about what his life was like was just blown away.
I live a full life, and I live an even fuller life than a lot of people who have no social barriers. I always felt like if you're gonna like put me down, then I'll show you. I'll show you that it's not all a loss. I travel the world on what I make, and it travels my soul and everything.
I'm really excited about what we can do to show people with autism and Asperger's what's possible and inspire kids coming up about what they might be able to take on. I think Chris is a bit of a rock star, and every community needs its rock stars.
My dream has always been to go to Antarctica. About 10 years ago, I found out that it actually is possible to go there, and it's my last remaining continent.
Chris is really inspiring about get your passport, get a little money together. The idea that we can't travel unless we have money or time is really out of the world of how we're going to have big lives. So we're going to make Fearless Journey with your help and show it to people around the world and inspire them to get over their own sense of limitation and do something bigger.
Welcome back, and I had to get out the tissues. We're here with Lydia Nibley, who is the filmmaker who is going to ensure that this story gets told with your help. And that really is at the key to all of this. You know that films don't get made in the way that they used to, and it really is something, it's exciting time in filmmaking that you and I can participate. Through a small donation, through a big donation, you can help to have this story be told. And I also want to tell you that Chris is here with us today, and he's going to be in with us in just a few minutes to talk with us as well. So if you have questions for him, stay tuned, because he's going to be with us. But Lydia, what an exciting story. I mean, even how you came into this picture, because this wasn't the film that you were looking to make, but this sort of unfolded for you.
It did, and I'm just so inspired by, we all have a sense of what our limits are. We all have a sense of what our comfort zone is. And truly in life, the best stuff happens out of our comfort zone. And yet we kind of hold on to it as if it's going to give us comfort, and it really doesn't. So stepping out, stepping beyond is such an inspiring idea, and I love that we can see in what Chris takes on, even in this next incarnation of his life. I mean, he was told he was going to be institutionalized. He has this amazing life, but we're going to also show in this film what he's working on now, because it's not okay to be complacent and kind of stay where we are. He's pushing beyond the barriers that he has in his own life with now as a young man to, you know, learn how to fall in love, learn how to take his life to the next level. He wants to be a public speaker. He wants to be an advocate in a powerful way. And so a part of what we'll track in the film is these journeys that he takes and how he connects with people and what he makes possible, but also his own continuing journey with his own development as a young man.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that you said while we were watching the trailer, and you kind of said it very quietly, but you said, can you imagine all the young kids who will watch him and be inspired? And that's really what I want for all of you to take to heart, that think about all the different times that you've needed an inspiration and to see that somebody else could do something that you thought was impossible to get you into movement. And I know I'm always looking for role models for my son to say, look what you can do. And pointing to, you know, people like James Durbin on American Idol and saying, you know, he has autism. You know, and look at this person, they have autism. So that he gets a sense of this means differently abled, and that's all that it means.
We all exist on a spectrum. We all exist on many spectrums. And so as long as we're pushing our own boundaries, we get big lives. And Chris is showing us what's possible for him and where he is. And I think anyone in any part of that spectrum of autism or the way we view our own lives can look at where we are, where we'd like to be, and see what we can do, acting in community with our family, with those who support us and coach us and love us, to get out of our comfort zone and make something new possible.
Absolutely. It's really remarkable. And so, and if they go to, say again, tell them.
fearlessjourneyfilm.org.
And there are lots of different tabs there that I want to encourage you all to click on, but I love the plan that you lay it out very succinctly about here's what the money will be used for, and it all culminates with an event that's going to happen next summer, which I got to say, like,
Fingers.
I really, it's something so exciting. Tell them what it is that you want to do, what you want to film next summer with Chris.
Well, you know, we have to have these bold visions, right?
Yes.
And if we end up scaling back, we'll scale back, but I hope we don't have to. I hope the community bands together to help us make this possible, because one of the first simple things we need to do is get Chris a decent camera so that he goes on his adventures without our full film crew. He can capture more of what's going on in his world. That's immediate. We're also going to film him here in Los Angeles, where he lives, and show his life and his growing up years and the ongoing relationship he has with the local high school, which is really inspiring. I can't wait to show you sample footage as soon as we shoot it.
Okay.
And then the grand adventures begin, because I would really like to get him to Barcelona in June for the Night of Fire, which is this amazing, crazy, beautiful event where the whole city basically lights up on fire. I don't want to spoil the surprise. If people who've been there understand it, it's just the wildest, most wonderful thing. And Chris has a great capacity to be with people. And so I want to show that in this big, noisy, raucous, up all night thing in Barcelona, where he's just exploring and talking to people and being Chris. It's going to be great. And then his big dream is to go to Antarctica. It's the last continent for him. And there are other places that we could take him if we don't raise enough money to get him to Antarctica, but I would really like to show the contrast of that contemplative, quiet, you know, the rigors of travel are something he understands. He's really good at kind of throwing himself bravely at things, and I would really like to get him to Antarctica and then film what happens as he makes that exploration.
It's kind of the fire and the ice. The two ends of that spectrum. It's very. I get chills thinking about it. I think this is a great project, and I think that we all need to band together to make sure that this story gets told, because these are footsteps that our children can walk in, you guys. I'm going to get emotional about it. But it's really remarkable. I think what you're doing is incredible. And again, we can't say enough that there is no donation that is too small. That every dime, I know that, you know, people have a lot of things going on this time of year, but imagine how great you could feel whether it's that you have $10 to give, or you know somebody who has a business who would like to be associated with this film. So where do they go again?
fearlessjourney.org. And also, you know, larger contributions. There are families of means who could be executive producers and help make this film in a really big way.
Yes.
And get it done faster. And so I just know the right people are out there. It's this process of just connecting with the people who
Absolutely.
care and who want to take this not just within the autism world, but show so many people in a general audience, in
Yes.
broadcast, in film festivals, really kind of take this out in a way that people see this whole world in, in a new way.
Well, you had said in the trailer that this expanded your mind about autism. I mean, it expands my mind about autism. It gets me excited about thinking about my son as a world traveler. It's a little frightening to me, but seeing Chris being able to do it expands my mind of what I think my child is capable of. And look, we could all use expanding the world's mind about what autism is and what it means.
Yeah, and that idea that we kind of, in a family with autism, there's a kind of circling the wagons and a kind of constriction that can happen accidentally when people don't realize that their lives are becoming smaller. And are there ways to stay outbound? Are there ways to take calculated risks, smart risks, and be more outbound? And of course, that's not just anything about autism, because how many people don't have a passport and haven't taken the challenge, or when they travel, they go to, chain hotels rather than getting out to see what life is really like in places.
Absolutely.
So it's just taking off the blinders that all of us have about certain subjects and kind of pushing it a bit.
This is a pivotal project, and I'm so happy that it's in your hands. And we're going to take a break, and then we're going to bring Chris in so that you guys have an opportunity to talk to Chris about these adventures and hear it straight from his mouth about what this project has meant and how he made this decision that he was going to travel the world. It's a really exciting story. So stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, Act Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get 2 kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear Act Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm here with Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And yes, with Shannon and Nancy, so I'm here too.
Yes, and we're thrilled because we have a wonderful guest who's here in the studio with us. We were just talking with Lydia Nibley, and now we're back with Chris from Fearless Journey. He is the star of the film that we've been talking about. Very excited to have him here. Sort of wish you guys had been here during the break, because already Nancy and I have learned so much from Chris.
Yes, we were talking about rushing, and I think it's epidemic these days, and then there's the Christmas holidays. We're rushing. And Chris, you said something very profound. Can you tell us again what you told us about being in a hurry?
If you're in a hurry all the time, it means you're in a hurry to get to your grave. Life's too short.
And he said that, and Nancy and I both kind of just stopped everything that we were doing. The light bulbs came over our heads, and we were like, yes. Thank you, Chris, for being here today to recenter us and be with us.
Yeah. And we want to hear about you. We heard from Lydia about the film. Can you tell us how you see your autism at this point in your life, Chris?
I see that it's a lot more understood than it used to be. Like, even 10 years ago, autism wasn't very understood. And, I mean, nowadays, people are less likely to try and take away what I love. People realize that I love travel and that I have this deep passion for the world. And, 10 or 15 years ago, everyone would have just tried to take that away from me.
So you feel like the world has become more accepting of individuals with autism spectrum disorders?
Yeah, there's a lot of improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement, but there has been a lot of improvement.
Okay. I find that so exciting. And you were saying before that even as a child, everywhere you went, you carried an atlas under your arm, and that you were always interested in geography. And we heard a little bit from the trailer about the moment at which you decided that you wanted to go and travel. What really was the tipping point for you of why you decided to make it happen, even with only a little bit of money?
Well, the tipping point was when I was chatting with my friend Nora at Starbucks. She used to be a barista there, and I was talking to her about travels, for some reason, and I had asked her if she had ever been anywhere, and she was like, "Yeah, I went to Europe with my family and all that." And then I said, my childhood dream has been to go to Australia. And then she was like, "Oh, really? I'm going." And I went home that night and I cried my eyes out, and I felt like, every time I've thought about going someplace, I've started to save up money for a week, and then I've had the attitude of, I can go to Australia when I'm 30, or I can go when I'm 40, or I can go when I'm 50. But then that was the tipping point, because I had heard so many stories of my friends going places, my friends going to Israel, going to the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and now to Australia, my dream place as a child. And I even said on the news when I was a child, I want to go to Australia.
Well, I think that's going to happen now, Chris. And
you've actually been to Australia.
He's been to
haven't you?
Australia.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where you've been there, and where else have you been? Because I missed that part of the interview.
Yes.
I've been to 28 countries now on 6 continents. My most recent big trip was Ethiopia, and I spent 2 months in Ethiopia. Wow. And everybody was on pins and needles, and I even did a side trip to Somalia. There's one safe section of Somalia that you can visit with a modicum of safety.
It's incredible, all the places you've been, and places that I might say that most of what people consider neurotypically wired people would never be brave enough, adventurous enough, or have that quest for knowledge. I mean, it's amazing everything you've done, Chris. So tell us what your goals are now. What's next for you?
Well, my goal is to be a fully fledged travel writer and blogger, and also to be a public speaker and encourage people to get out of their comfort zone. Because the vast majority of people nowadays, they get settled into a regular job, which the majority of those people would see as a dull job, and they don't realize underneath the surface that they have a hidden gem. Like they may be an expert guitarist and not realize it. They may be an expert singer or an expert writer, and people get into these comfort zones and they have a fear of getting out of it. It's like, I have to have a steady paycheck. I have to have money always coming in.
And you've got such a great philosophy that's so much more in the present. I want to know what this film would make possible for you. You talked with Lydia, and I heard some of that. What would this make possible for you in your life?
Well, it would definitely help me get recognized. It would help writers and publishers see me, and they realize that I have a talent and I have a passion for the world, and then they're like, they may see like, oh, I need somebody to go on an assignment for me to Israel, for example, and they may even understand, he has autism, so his passion is even deeper. He may write a story for me in even deeper detail.
Absolutely. I think that I'm so inspired by you, Chris, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to stay with us for another segment, because I'd like to talk more about this. Are you willing to stay for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk more with Chris about this journey that he is on, that he's been on, and that he's continuing, and how you can be a part of it. So stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are here with Chris Farrell, and he is a remarkable young man, 29 years old, on the autism spectrum, and a seasoned world traveler.
A seasoned adventurer, world travel explorer.
Yes, who's been documenting his travels, and he is the subject of a documentary that is in the process of being made, Fearless Journey. We were talking with the filmmaker Lydia Nibley earlier, and we want to encourage everyone to participate in the completion of this film. You can make donations small or large. You can visit, it's fearlessjourney.com. Yes, fearlessjourneyfilm.org. All right, now I've got it straight.
fearlessjourneyfilm.org.
There we go.
And it's a story that I think the whole world should hear. And before we went to break, during the break, we were talking about your family during all of this, because Shannon and I, having young sons on the autism spectrum who are getting older now, we're saying we would be not only on pins and needles with our sons doing this, but we would be have to be sedated.
Yeah. So we want to know what it was like for your family, and in particular your mom, the first time you traveled, and what it's like now.
Well, before I went to Australia, my mom was like, I get a copy of your itinerary and everything. I'm going to be a nervous wreck the whole time. And the day before leaving, I talked to my mom, and I was like, Mom, you're acting like I'm going off to war in Iraq. That's how you sound right now. And I said to her, the day I ever get drafted to go to Iraq, then worry.
Okay.
And so then my family got more used to it, and I mean, at first I would go to easy places like Australia and New Zealand, and then I went to Iceland, where my mom had spent some time with her Catholic school. And then I started to go to more daring places like Costa Rica and Cuba and Mexico and Peru.
But even you call Australia easy, but that's a really long plane ride. I'm assuming that you had been on planes before and been in airports before and been on subways and things, or no?
Yeah, I flew a lot when I was a child. You know,
Okay, with your family.
Yeah, and so I was always used to flying, and I find the feeling of being in the air really peaceful, and I feel like, you know, there's always things to do on planes, like going from nonstop from LA to Sydney is a 14-hour flight, and you know, I make friends while flying. I can read, I can play my Nintendo, a lot of flights even have internet nowadays.
They do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
you don't mind that part of it. It's interesting because my son's going through, he used to love to fly, and he's 12 now, and now he doesn't want to go on long flights. He'll always say, Mom, how long is that? I don't want to go on it. So it's gotten to be sort of something he doesn't want anymore.
Well, and I get car sick on a stationary bicycle, so for me, flying is, you know, I've never been to Australia, partially because the flight is so long it scares me. So to me, you know, I think Australia sounds difficult. So when you say, oh, that's an easy one, that's fascinating to me. But we wanted to talk a little bit with you about your childhood, and you know, you talk about how easy it is for you to make friends, and a lot of times for people on the autism spectrum, that can be overwhelming in and of itself. And I'd love to know from you, Chris, what do you feel like helped you as a child to be as social as you are?
Well, as a child, I was antisocial at first. I had a preference for being alone, and you know, I would rather play Nintendo rather than go out and play basketball with other kids. And partially because I got bullied a lot, and then you know, it wasn't until I saw my sister like always going to birthday parties and always being invited to things that I was like, you know, hey, I want to do that. You know, I want to go to a birthday party, and then I would try to make friends, and it was difficult. You know, I got bullied a lot, I got teased a lot, I got called names, and some days I would just go home from school crying because of how much I got bullied, and I would do anything in my power to not go to school. I'd hide my shoes, I'd pretend to be sick or whatever, and it wasn't until I was all over the news and everything that you know, kids started surrounding me. Everybody wanted to be my friend, and
interesting.
These kids that used to be cruel suddenly wanted my autograph.
And we should go back, because we talked about it before we were on air, the reason why you were on the news as a teenager. So tell the folks at home what you did as a teenager that got you on the news.
Yeah, I was a finalist in the National Geographic Bee, and I was the first child on the autism spectrum to be a school champion. And then I had to take a qualifying exam to compete in the state level, and only the top 100 out of about 6,000 school champions around the state of California would get selected, and so I got selected, and then I was all over the news, and
you were on the Today Show.
Yeah, I was on the Today Show and various news stations. I was on Extra.
And
So you've always been a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
absolutely
You've taught a lot of people about autism and how not to judge, right? And
Yeah.
how to look further. You're a great example, Chris. I think you're just a great example for all our kids.
Yeah.
Was there any particular, aside from seeing your sister have friends, was there anything that your parents encouraged in you or taught you that you think was an important part of you becoming the person you are?
Well, my mom always taught me eye contact, which eye contact is often a major problem for people on the spectrum.
Yes.
You know, they may look over there, they may look at that camera, or they may look at, you know, those bows on the wall. But my mom always taught me eye contact, and I feel that's not a problem for me.
And you make great eye contact.
Yes, you do.
Make great eye contact.
But at the same time, I felt like, you know, at times people didn't want me to be social. It's like people were like, you know, just sit there and be a good boy, and you know, I felt like at times, you know, my parents didn't really want me to go out and things like that when I was younger. And I don't know if it's that they were fearful, like maybe they were fearful that I was going to run off or whatever. And one of my theories about somebody on the spectrum is that, you know, in my mind, you know, when I go to a place like Ethiopia, I know 100% that I'm going to be fine, even though someone who's unfamiliar, they might think that I'm going to end up being shot, or I may end up being abducted by cannibals and roasted over a fire pit. And, you know, whereas I know that I'm going to have some great experiences, I'm going to have some great food, I'm going to meet some great people, I'm going to be invited in to stay for the night and have experiences beyond my wildest dreams.
And you've made friends all over the world because of that attitude, which is really inspirational. I wanted to talk a little bit with you in closing about Antarctica and what the drive is to go there. Why is that something that's on your list of things to do?
Well, see, I've always had an affinity for remote places, and it's I think part of it goes back to how people were worried about me going places, and I've always had an affinity for remote places, and Antarctica is about as remote as it gets, and I'd like to share a bit about one remote place that I've been, and it's the island of Niue in the South Pacific. It's spelled N-I-U-E, and the only way to get to Niue, unless you sail your own boat there, is that there's one flight a week from New Zealand, and it was one of the last places that I knew about, and you know, it was I saw it on a list of places that my geography teacher had given me when I was his assistant, and this was after the media sensation and all that. And I remember going home, and Niue phonetically it looks like Niu, and so I remember being like, "Mom, where's Niu?" And then she was like, "I don't know. The capital's Alofi, and I think it's near Barbados." And so I went there, and
you took that one flight?
Yeah, I took that one flight when I lived in New Zealand.
Okay.
And something happened there that was a story in itself. And the police chief asked me, he was like, "What made you come to Niue?" And I was like, and he must have thought that I was out running something. And I told him, you know, because it's different. I told him that I like remote places. I told him I want to go to Kiribati, I want to go to Pitcairn Island, I want to go to Nauru, I want to go to Tuvalu. And so I think in his mind he was like, okay, this guy's legit.
Right.
And you know, nobody would be able to rattle off all those places in one sentence.
You realize you're just a world traveler, explorer.
Yeah.
Fearless spirit.
And passion for that. Now, there's a potholder story that we were told that we have to ask. So what is the potholder story?
The potholder, it's a red potholder in the shape of Texas that my mom gave me when I was about 2 or 3. And she purchased it from an art vendor in Dallas. She was visiting my grandfather, I think it was. She was in Dallas for some reason. And she brought me home this potholder, and so you know, years later I saw it, and I always thought it was accidentally in the shape of Texas, and my dad said, "No, you always carried around Texas and Mr. Pig," which Mr. Pig was a blue and white pig that my grandmother had made me. and so then I didn't find out till about 3 or 4 years ago, because I found Texas when I was cleaning, and my dad was telling his secretary that, you know, that was the thing that started his love for the world. And so then I realized how sentimental it was.
Yeah.
And so and it was a crochet Texas. And I was nervous about washing it because I thought it'd get snagged in the washer and destroyed. And so I had my mom wash it when she came to visit me once.
Could you frame it?
Yes, I could.
We framed my son's pillow, which ended up being like a rag like this. It had little animals on it. And we framed it because he carried it for so many years we couldn't bear to see pillow
There you go.
But might be a great reminder of how you've always had this spirit, Chris, and, you know, frame it, put it somewhere.
And interesting, you know, that it all starts with a potholder.
You never know, moms and dads and grandmas and granddads and brothers and sisters and people, where these things will lead you in life.
Right.
It's a mystery to be lived.
On a fearless journey, and it all started with a Texas-shaped potholder. I love it. It's a great story. Well, Chris, we think you're remarkable, and we're really pulling for you to get this film made. We want to encourage everybody who's watching to participate in whatever way you can. Whether it's sharing about this story on your social networks or donating, you can go to
donate and, you know, do it in honor of somebody that you love.
Absolutely. You can fearlessjourneyfilm.org. That's where you can go to find out how you can participate and how you can donate. If you're looking for a gift for the person who has everything, donate in their name.
In their name, yeah.
And they'll be a part of this wonderful journey being documented. And we welcome you to come back and tell us as you go.
We want
on these
you to
journeys.
stay in touch with us, okay?
Absolutely.
And keep us informed about how you're doing and all your adventures. Okay. Great.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
We are going to take a break and look at the A Word. This is the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, who began his early intensive behavioral intervention at the age of 2. And at this point, he's 5. There's still work to be done, but he's made so much progress. So take a look. This is the A Word. And when we come back, Nancy and I will continue with Let's Talk Autism. We have more news stories to cover. And we have another guest who's going to be joining us talking about the business that he runs that helps to employ individuals who are on the spectrum, suiting them exactly to the area of the business that they will feel comfortable, and what a wonderful service that is in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Needed, you know, entrepreneurial person that is thinking of ways to employ young people on the spectrum.
Absolutely. So first, watch the A Word, and we'll be back after this episode.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast. Exciting. I say Jack, Jack, Jack is my buddy. Jack is my buddy. Everybody around is so down with Jack.
Hi, Diana.
Hi. What are you looking at? Is this Diana?
Hi, Jack Riley. How are you?
Jack Riley has been in preschool for a few days now, with Jessica as his shadow. Today, his team meets to discuss how school is going, such as how Jack Riley's behaviors have been and how his teacher is handling him, and what they can do to help.
The first 2 days I was kind of feeling her out because she's actually new to teaching preschool, I guess, in general. So I think it made her a little bit nervous. I was telling her, you know, it's always okay to reinforce appropriate behavior. Like, don't forget to do that.
Yeah.
So I was showing her a lot with other kids as well as him. Looks like there's room for growth. She just seems to kind of is trying to get into the whole hang of preschool. But I just reminded her like why I'm there, to slowly wean myself out and have you take over.
Yes. How much are you able to back off and let him kind of do his thing?
Outside play, pretty much 95%.
Awesome. It's just the play.
It's just the outside play.
The tantrums, what's evoking the tantrums?
It was snack time, because they provide the snack at school, and yesterday was like bagels and cream cheese and like diced pears, and he wanted neither. But instead of saying, hey, I don't want that, he started to flip out. And then I reminded him he had goldfish, he just has to use words appropriately.
Good job.
You're almost and then after that, he wanted milk, but they didn't have milk.
You're almost done with the level. Okay.
So he got really, really upset, and then he felt that if he screamed it louder, he would get it. So I said, no, we just don't have it. So I told him once, and then it still wasn't okay. I had to pull him out because the other kids were getting a little bit uneasy. So I didn't want to direct attention to him. So I let him have it outside for 2-3 minutes. After he calmed down, I just told him, you know, we just don't have it.
Let's make the
So
right
either drink water or get nothing. That's just what we have. Sorry, and he was fine after that.
If you're seeing that as like a reoccurring thing, then we can just teach them the rule. You know, if they don't have what you want, you say, oh, I wish they had milk, but okay. You know, teach them the replacement thing to say, and then we'll take data on in vivo. Is he able to use the replacement behavior that we've taught?
What'd you have for snack yesterday at school? What was there? But you didn't like it. What was there? Do you remember?
Peaches. And peaches are good.
And what else?
Peaches are peaches good for me?
I love peaches. I think they're so good, and they're very good for you. They have lots of vitamins.
And what else?
I don't like them.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can just say, I don't like peaches. So you give the rule,
Okay.
have him practice, and then we'll take data on if he's able to implement the rule.
Should I be packing him a juice
box?
box? And
No. I think it's good to have him kind of be okay with if it's not there, it's not there.
As much as you can fade back, fade back. Only jump in during those times where he really needs you so we can.
So if I say, tell me about a dog, and then you would have to say, a dog has fur, it has a long tail, and 4 legs. Okay?
Some dogs.
Okay? So I'm going to ask you something. Tell me 3 things about Steven.
Steven is a teacher.
He's a teacher?
He just from his bat cave.
He came from his bat cave?
And he doesn't live on the street.
And he what?
And he doesn't live on the street.
And he doesn't live on a street? Okay, I'll take it. Tell me 3 things about a kitty cat.
A kitty cat's just an animal,
It's an animal,
and it's somebody's pet.
And it's somebody's pet.
And Squally has one. And Squally has a dog.
No, so it's a pet, it's an animal, and
it's fat.
it's fat. Can you say something else about it? How many legs does it have?
4.
It has 4 legs. Okay, so tell me 3 things about a cat.
or a fish.
A cat
You said
is
it's a-
somebody's pet.
somebody's pet?
And he has fur.
And his fur,
And he kind of has 4 legs.
And he has 4 legs. Very good. Tell me 3 things about Lainey Grace.
Lainey Grace is a baby.
She's a baby?
And she's 1 year old.
And she's 1 year old?
She's my baby.
And she's your baby?
That's
You
your
can
baby?
say she's my sister.
She's my sister.
Okay, so all by yourself. Tell me 3 things about Lainey Grace.
Wait, let me see.
All by yourself. Go.
Lainey is small and
She's
1
small.
year old.
She's 1 year old.
And she's pretty cool.
She's pretty cool. I think she's pretty cool too.
We're back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we are going to do more in the news at the top of the hour.
Yes, absolutely.
And the first story that I wanted to talk about, if you were just with us in the last 2 segments, you met a remarkable young man, Chris Farrell.
Yes.
And he is a world traveler. And more than that, really a philosopher, an adventurer, an explorer, and they are in the process of trying to get this movie put together, Lydia Nibley, and he exemplifies the great gifts that so many, just like every person has gifts, so many of our young people on the autism spectrum have these amazing gifts that deserve to be shared with the world.
Really incredible. I'm so inspired by him.
I am too.
I haven't quite had a second to process it, but so inspired. It was so moving to talk to him.
It was.
And can't wait to see more of the film.
There was a new study that I just got a copy of this morning. Actually, it's a South Florida autism specialist. And her name's Dr. Judith Aronson Ramos, and she's a BCBDA, Board Certified Developmental and Behavior Pediatrician, and she said some things that I thought were worth repeating here.
Okay.
What are common misconceptions about autism? The misconceptions are numerous. I would say the most prominent is that it is a devastating disorder and a child is doomed to a lifetime of support and can never be independent, and that's a complete fallacy. We know kids can go on to college. Some are pursuing professional careers, a variety of different jobs, so really there's no limitations. I think Chris just proved that.
Absolutely.
What can parents do to help their children with autism? What parents can do to help their children with autism is a great question because there are lots of things parents can do. In the home setting, try to include children in the daily life, daily routine, play with their children, get eye contact from your children. As children grow older, how much improvement can a parent expect? And I was glued to this because Wyatt's 12 now.
It's the question that everybody asks, right?
It depends on where you're starting from, but we do know that progress goes on lifelong. So the early improvements we look for most is language and communication, because that's a barrier that determines where a child can progress to with autism. So development of language, we hope for it by the age of 8 to 10 years old. That's much later than I've ever heard an expert on developmental ASD say. So that should be very good news for many parents.
Absolutely.
And if your child is not verbal and they're older than that, do not give up.
Absolutely. We've seen many times that it comes later.
It's on the later side, but we know even those kids who are not verbal can make progress throughout their lives. What's your best advice for parents? The best advice I can give parents about their children with autism is to be very hopeful. There are new treatments, therapies being developed all the time. Individuals with autism are making profound and great achievements. So we never want to underestimate our children, despite whatever problems they have. Quite often, they can lead very productive and full lives. She knows firsthand, Dr. Aronson Ramos, from what parents are facing. One of her daughters is on the autism spectrum and is currently in college. Thank you, Dr. Aronson Ramos.
Absolutely, and she brought up the word that you always like to say, your favorite four-letter word, hope.
Hope.
Which I love. It's one of my, I want to get that crocheted on a pillow,
It's my
Nancy.
favorite four-letter word.
Hope. Love it. Absolutely love it. We're just full of good news today, which I'm very excited about.
Maybe this is what the Christmas spirit is about. You know, if you've been out there rushing around, and I have an admission that I was late because I forgot we were doing another hour today, and I've been rushing so much, and yesterday I got a ticket because I was rushing to meet a friend to go for a hike very early in the morning. Now, that really was ridiculous because I was in my neighborhood, and I'm always upset about people that go fast in my neighborhood, and there I was one of them. So I really, when the police officer came over, and I was, you know, going 40 in a 25 zone, I had no excuse. I said, "Officer, you're right. I was going too fast, and it wasn't for a good reason. There is no good reason when there are children and animals and kids going to school." So sometimes we get, I think, messages that we don't know. You know, it's that blessing in disguise thing. And I saw a lot of that with Chris, you know.
Yeah.
He's a very wise young man.
Yeah, very wise for 29. But world traveled. So, but I very much believe in that thing about, you know, we get our messages, we get a little grain of sand first, and then we get a small pebble, and then we get a rock, and then we get a boulder.
Without
and it's always my thing in my life. You know, one of the things we're talking about this whole week are antecedent modifications.
Okay.
I live by this because I want to fix whatever it is before the boulder comes. I've had the boulder before.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, rock, let's do something. Boulder coming. Let's change the stuff right now, right here. I want to learn the lesson. I don't want the boulder.
Okay.
So you got a rock yesterday.
Yeah, I got a big rock.
You don't want the boulder.
No, I don't want the boulder. I'll take the rock
That's
any
right.
day.
That's right. And that means we change the stuff that's happening before the
boulder
big stuff
comes. Yep.
Antecedent modification.
Important. Good
yes,
analogy.
There we go.
All right, here's another article that I thought was really interesting and really kind of confirmed what I've been thinking. Concerns raised over overlapping autism research. Most federally funded autism research is potentially duplicative. Is that the way to say it? Duplicative?
I think duplicative.
According to a new government report that finds coordination and oversight lacking, no less than 12 federal agencies allocated $1.4 billion for autism research, awareness projects, trainings, and other related activities between 2008 and 2012. Interesting, because Act Today definitely did not get any of that money. But I would love to have some of that money to help parents fund treatment. But anyway, the efforts of these agents may have overlapped. The U.S. Government of Accountability found that 84% of autism research projects during the 4-year period had the potential to be redundant. This is really a travesty because this money is so crucial and important to us. So there was a review of the projects, and it really doesn't, aside from saying the Combating Autism Act tasked the IACC with monitoring all federal autism activities, but such efforts from the committee were limited, the GAO report said. So it sounds like there's some oversight here that's not really happening, although most of the agencies, when interviewed, agreed that they could do more to work together, but disputed that any unreasonable duplication is occurring.
See, and I just think this brings us back to, one of the things that happened that was supposed to be helpful to all of us was that this IACC was founded.
Yes.
The Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee to oversee this kind of thing. And there's been a great deal of criticism in the last couple of years at the lack of frequency with which the IACC meets. And this seems to me just another government agency pointing a finger and saying you are not doing effectively what you were tasked with doing, which raises questions for me about, I really think that we need to have some person in charge of autism. We need, they have a drug person.
They've been talking about a federal plan for how long now? Autism Speaks was recently in Washington lobbying for this. And say what you may about Autism Speaks, they're powerful and they have the ability to be heard. So we need that. And I read last week, let all our voices sing together. I think we've got to get together or we will get nowhere. But I think it's unconscionable, the lack of federal oversight, the lack of federal commitment, and the lack of a federal plan to address those families that are not getting help and those adults that are not getting the opportunities that what we saw this young man, Chris, just recently, that there are kids sitting at home depressed, overweight, with no jobs, with no training, that have fallen off the cliff. I mean, I'm going to get on my soapbox in a minute, but it's unconscionable that we're not, whatever money, precious money is there, is not going to a very coordinated effort.
And there's a committee that's supposed to oversee it, but I don't know, do you agree with me? There are a lot of people that I've talked to that said if they don't appoint a person who the buck stops with them.
Yes, a person,
not a committee.
Yeah, I was actually relieved.
This is the person.
I was so relieved to hear President Obama say, you know what, well, I'm president for the next 3 years. I'm doing this health plan. I'm making it work, and I'm sticking through it. Yeah. Thank you for sticking to your guns. And I want to see somebody do that with autism. I want for Congress or someone or the president to appoint someone and say, you are the person. We have a person in charge of terror. I don't know. Darrell Steinberg might be a good choice. Senator Steinberg, I don't know. He's terming out of the Senate. He's done a lot here. I'd have to look and see who the candidates are, but I'm sure there are many. I'm sure. Unfortunately, you can't name somebody in the federal. There is nobody right now in the federal government.
The position needs to be. The person needs to be formed, and they need to appoint someone. And I can think of some people that I would like to nominate, and you'd be on the short list. So
unfortunately, being a policy wonk is not my thing. But there are many people that could do it, and we have many great friends advocating. And I think. It has to be done. So
it has to be done, and this just points it up. And this is a government agency that's saying this isn't being handled correctly. Okay, do you want to talk about oxytocin?
Yeah, I do, because I was very interested in this, and I'm you know me, I'm one of those. If it works, I would like to try it. You're a little more wary.
Well, and what's interesting, I had an opportunity to talk about this briefly with Alex Plank yesterday because he wanted to talk a little bit about the oxytocin, and I thought that his take on it was really interesting.
Okay.
He said, I want to know more. This study covered 17 kids, and let's be realistic about it, but I want to know more about it. And
so it was a study done out of Yale School of Medicine. It was issued in the December 2nd issue of Proceeding for the National Academy of Sciences, so this is extremely legit, you know. It's the first study to evaluate the impact of oxytocin on brain function in children with autism spectrum disorders, said, and I can't, it looks like Ilanet Gordon, a Yale Child Study Center adjunct assistant professor, and they go on to name others, and they did a double-blind, placebo-controlled study of 17 children and adolescents with autism spectrum disorders. They were randomly given, they were between 8 and 16.5 years of age. They were randomly given either oxytocin or the placebo nasal spray, and the brain centers associated with reward responded more during social tasks when children received oxytocin instead of the placebo. It facilitated social attunement, a process that makes the brain regions involved in social behavior and social cognition activate for more social stimuli, such as faces, and activate less for non-social stimuli, such as cars. So the results are particularly important considering the urgent need for treatments to target social dysfunction in ASD. I found this one of the most exciting things I've read in research in some time, because it does not seem to be something that would dull or take away, but possibly may take an area where we know there's a deficit, we know there is across the spectrum, and give those people a tool, those kids, those individuals with ASD. What's your take?
Well, and it was interesting because yesterday, you know me, I'm skeptical, and when I was talking about this with Alex, I said, isn't this much like how people use alcohol? That, you know, and he said, no, actually it's not. He said, because alcohol doesn't actually increase your social acuity, it deadens parts of your brain so that you don't have the inhibition, and this actually causes parts of your brain to light up.
That's another gifted young man on the spectrum, young person on the spectrum, Alex Plank, who told you this, and I think that take is absolutely some.
But again, it's 17 kids. A lot more research needs to be done before we all jump up and down and go, oh, oxytocin takes care of social, but it's promising.
What scares me is the story we covered before. Now that this research has been done, where does it go? Does it just go?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and now that 3 places are going to want to do more research on this, are they going to say, well, that's 3 places doing it? Because you know, and they did talk about that in the other article, that in order to get research really mainstream, it has to be corroborated by several different people. So there is a need for different research to be done in different places. But yes, it's got to be more effective the way things get done.
I'll sign Wyatt up.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Do you want to talk about, or do you want to break and go to, because we have more stuff. Let's go to our interview.
Okay, great.
And then we'll come back and do some of our other, because we have a lot of news to cover this week, because we didn't get a chance to last week. But in any case, we want to talk to you. We've got a guest who's going to be joining us via Skype. Van Hatchell is going to be with us from EV, stands for Extraordinary Ventures. This is a company that, it's sort of a parent company of a series of 5 different companies that they've got a really important mission, and it involves hiring individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So we're very uplifting today. I'm very excited by the message that we're sending out.
This is all good news.
It is good news, isn't it? So Van's going to talk with us about how they make, why this mission, how they make it work, and I want to know more about how this might be replicated in other places.
Too.
But especially,
it's the future, I
they're
think.
in North Carolina, and
my
we want to
home
encourage.
State,
and we want to. There we go. We want to encourage people to use this business because you're employing individuals on the spectrum when you do. So stick with us. We're going to come back and hear from Extraordinary Ventures. We'll be right back.
So the holidays are fast approaching, and you might be looking for a fun cookie recipe you can make with your kids. Well, thankfully, Breads from Anna has given us a great sugar cookie recipe that we can make that's gluten-free. So let's get started. Here's some of the things you'll need. For the dough, you'll need 1.5 cups of vegetable shortening, 2 cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon almond extract, 4 eggs, 3 cups of Breads from Anna dairy-free flour, 2 cups potato starch, 2 teaspoons baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And for the icing, you'll need 1/2 cup of shortening, 1/2 cup of butter, 1 tablespoon vanilla, 4 cups confectioner's sugar, and 2 tablespoons of almond milk. To start with, we're going to just mix together our liquids. So we've got our shortening, eggs, our vanilla, and our almond. And we're just going to go ahead and cream these together. So once that's all creamed, we're gonna go ahead and add our dry ingredients, starting with our breads from Anna flour. And we've got our potato starch. And we've got our baking powder and salt. We're also gonna go ahead and put in 2 cups of sugar. All right, once that's all blended together, we're gonna go ahead and cover this and chill for about an hour or overnight in your fridge. So it's been an hour, our dough should be cool. So we're gonna try to roll this out to about a 1/2 inch to about 3/4 inch in thickness. So while I'm rolling out the dough, I preheated the oven to 400 degrees. And I have a baking stone preheating in the oven that I'm gonna set these on. But if you don't have a baking stone, that's okay. You can just use a cookie sheet with parchment paper. Now you're gonna take your cutter and just cut out all your cookies. All right, so I'm gathering my cookies, my little dudes here. That's good. Let's go ahead and put these in the oven. And these should be good to go in about 6 minutes. So while our cookies are baking, we can go ahead and start making the frosting that we're gonna use once they're done. So we're gonna need our shortening. We're gonna go ahead and add our butter. We're gonna add our vanilla. We're gonna start to blend this. Okay, so once we've creamed these together, we're gonna go ahead and add our sugar just a bit at a time. And last but not least, we're gonna add our almond milk just to soften it up a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. So once our cookies are done baking and we've given them time to cool, we can go ahead and frost them all. Okay, so our cookies are ready. Let's go get them. These look pretty good. Now's the part where you get to be creative with your kids. Feel free to ice these in different colors, with sprinkles, however you want. We've got our cool cookies here, our homemade icing. All right, these look great. For more of these recipes and to possibly win some of your own breads from Anna, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/autism-live, and we'll see you there soon. Thanks for joining me.
We are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we are joined now via Skype with the Managing Director of Extraordinary Ventures, Van Hatchell, and he's coming to us from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Good morning, Van.
Hey, how are you doing?
We're doing great. How's everything in Chapel Hill?
It's great. It's actually kind of warm.
Nice.
Got a lot of things going on, so it's really fun. It's a good time of year.
Great.
And Van, you're the Managing Director of Extraordinary Ventures. We'd love to know a little bit about Extraordinary Ventures and what its mission is.
Sure. So Extraordinary Ventures' mission is to create and maintain local community-based small businesses, all for the sake of employing people with autism and other developmental disabilities.
Great. And tell us how you're doing that.
So we have 5 different businesses that we run currently, and each one is designed to have parts of the business that really play up to the strengths of people that have developmental disabilities and autism. So one of the businesses we have is an event center. Our guys maintain events, set up, tear down after the events. There's a lot of interaction they have with the people that attend the events.
Okay.
We have another business like a laundry business where we do wash, dry, fold, pickup, and delivery for the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So our guys go in and out of dorms, picking up laundry, things like that.
Great,
then we have a gifts business. We have a product business where we create scented candles, bath salts, soaps. We sell them online and then to retailers throughout the state and the Southeast.
All right, well, these are all really needed services and products. So we're going to take a little break, and we want to come back and find out how this all started, you know, what inspired it and what the goals are, okay? So we'll be back with more from Extraordinary Ventures.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For December, I thought we'd work on an activity that is a handmade gift for someone who is super special in your life. It could be for a teacher, family member, or a friend. So let's get to it. The materials you'll be needing for this activity are cardstock, pencil, glue, and crayons. This this activity is making a monogram letter filled with crayons. This activity is great because it works on one, the pincer grasp, and also planning ahead since you're going to be having to break the crayons to fit the inside of the letter. So to begin this activity, first things first, mom or dad or guardian is going to have to draw out the letter for the kid. If that's a little difficult for you, you can always just print something out from your computer and then glue it on the heavy cardstock, all right? I'm going to go ahead and draw mine freehand. So now that my letter M is drawn out, now it's time to fill it in with the crayons. So I'm going to take them and place them onto it accordingly and try to break them into pieces that'll fit the spaces perfectly.
See all the colors in the sky tonight.
So now that you've figured out the sizes of the crayons to fill in your letter, now take your glue and fill in the space and start laying them back in. Now we're going to let this dry for a little while. Once your monogram is done drying, feel free to decorate any way you feel. I'm going to write a little message, but you can do whatever you want.
Stars come out and swirl around so high.
So here's my finished monogram letter. Hopefully Ms. Mackenzie is going to love her gift, and I hope you enjoy doing this activity with me. Until next time, guys, craft on. Bye.
When you see me flying by your side.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We have a wonderful guest who's joining us from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Van Hatchell, who is the Managing Director of Extraordinary Ventures. We were hearing about their mission.
Yes, to employ young men and women on the autism spectrum and with other developmental disabilities. They create jobs and fund programs through their space rental business, as well as laundry services, candle making, all kinds of other ventures. Van, let's talk about, how did this start? Whose idea?
So a local group of parents actually all moved here really for the services of TEACH program at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill around the early 90s, late 80s. And since they had such a strong knit community, as their kids started to phase out of the public school system and together, they realized there was not going to be a whole lot of employment, meaningful employment for them in the community. So after a few years of trying to scrap for the services they could and facing a lot of interviewing and not getting calls back, they thought, all right, let's take it upon ourselves to create businesses specifically to employ our population, our children.
That's what we love to hear. Parents who took matters into their own hands.
Go parents. And it sounds like a lot of young, inspirational young people there at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill helped them with this.
Yeah, so that's something that's really unique about our model, is that we're actually managed by a team of young entrepreneurs. So we hire from the University of North Carolina or the local other universities, people that want to be social entrepreneurs, give them some resources, train them up a little bit, and then tell them to go employ people that generally have a hard time finding employment. It worked out really well.
Well, and tell us a little bit, Van, about how a young person in the area, if they're wanting a job, what's the process that they go through between applying and then actually starting to work the job?
So we're market driven when we hire, so we need our businesses to grow for us to create more employment, because we believe in sustainable, scalable employment. Mm-hmm. So when a job opens up, what we do is post it to our website, and then we actually networked really well with schools, transition coordinators, supported employment agencies. So we let all of them know that we have something available. And then usually we get a flurry of people asking for those jobs. We bring them in the order that we receive them. We give them an on-the-job walkthrough. So we have an interview, very short, face-to-face Q&A. We take them through the building, try to get them acclimated to what all we do, and then we actually let them try the work in their interview. If they like it, we let them go home, follow up with them a few days later to let it kind of sink in, and then see if they are still interested. If they're still interested, they can come on as an employee.
I'm wondering, what are some of the success stories you've had with some of these young people?
Sure. So we've had a lot of different type of success stories. We have some employees that are a little less challenged by their disability who have been able to use us as a first job, get some training and experience, and then move on to other more normalized like employment in the community, or even move on other places seeking employment. And then we have other individuals who are very impacted by their disability, who have been told by all of the assessments that they'll never have a job, who come to us and within a few months are able to work, 5 to 6 hour days, 4 or 5 days a week.
That's tremendous. And we want to know, what is the process that the young person goes through when they apply for the job? They go through let's talk about how they do that. So they apply online?
Well, and we were just talking about that they actually let them try it. But I want to know the second part of that question about, do you give them support while they're working for you? Because I imagine that sometimes the transition is hard for them to go to work and be working long hours. And so what's that process?
So it's different for every person. What we try to do is set each business up so that it follows a very succinct left to right visual process with clear starts, clear finishes, and a lot of natural supports within the business. So if you were to look at our laundry process, from inventorying, a color-coded system follows a bag of laundry throughout the entire process. When it comes out and it's time to fold, there's folding boards, photos of how to do things, and then checks of how to do things.
Perfect. So there's a real system to this.
Yes. We try to build that into everything that we do. And then some people do need to come with the type of support that they need for their disability.
So you might have an aide that's there supporting them and helping them to work through what they need to do, give them that extra support.
Yes, and that usually comes with the person. We don't require anything like that. We only say, this is what an employee is tasked to finish, to do in a shift, which is very manageable. It's not anything that's too quick or demanding. And we work with them, their parents, their managed care organizations to try to figure out what will work well for them.
I think it's remarkable.
Okay. And tell us what people can do to support you right now. You're selling, for example, candles. Right.
So we always say that you can support us by being a customer. So if you're not looking or living in the Chapel Hill area, our gifts business is the best way for you to support us.
Okay, and they can go to gifts.ev for exceptional ventures.nc.org. That's gifts.ev.nc.org. Can you show us a few things, Van?
Sure. This is a scented candle that our guys make. This is our cranberry candy cane scented candle.
Ooh, nice.
Double wicked, soy, no chemicals whatsoever inside of the wicks. All of our scents are certified.
Now, when people buy something, do you let them know? Is there a mission statement from Exceptional Ventures, or telling somebody what they purchased from, who they purchased it from?
On the back of every candle, it says the mission of Extraordinary Ventures.
Perfect.
And then when you take the label off, it's got, on the bottom, it says that this was handcrafted with care by an adult with autism or developmental.
Perfect.
Absolutely love it. So again, tell us the website again, Van.
It's gifts.evnc.org.
Okay, gifts.evnc.org. Okay, great. And great time of year. It's holiday season.
Everybody loves candles. I love candles.
Great
you love
gift
candles.
for teachers.
Everybody loves candles.
Everybody loves candles.
We always have to remember the teachers.
Running a special that if you order $50 or more, it's free shipping anywhere in the country.
Oh, I love free shipping.
How can you beat that?
You really can't beat that.
Gifts.ev.nc.org. Get candles.
No second dot between the EV and the NC.
Oh, no second dot between the EV and NC. Sorry.
EVNC, no, I had it originally too. Gifts.evnc.org.
Okay,
so that's where you want to go to order candles and help support this business.
It's very important.
I think it's incredible, and I hope that eventually you guys look to want to expand in other areas.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, good
Thanks
luck
for
to
being
you.
with
Thank
us.
you for doing what you do. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Really remarkable. We need more companies to be smart like
Hope
this.
Hope is our four-letter word today.
It
We're
really
just seeing everybody doing these great undertakings, ventures that are really helping, really going forward in a positive direction.
And it makes a difference, especially I think this time of year, because we can all look around and find things that aren't working, right? We all know that there are those things there, and if we've looked, we can find them, right?
Yes, yes.
But it's good to remember that there are things that are working, and there is hope.
That's right.
And things are moving in the right direction, and we need to get all of our shoulders behind that.
We do.
Right?
So are we going to take a break? Because when we come back, I want to talk about a little bit about being a nonprofit in this time of year and how everybody wants you to give, and I just wanted to give some thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
We're back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we have had some remarkable guests on in the last hour and 45 minutes. We had a young man, Chris Farley, a filmmaker, who was inspirational and wanting to tell the story of this young man, Chris Farley, on the autism spectrum, who is an explorer, an adventurer, and a philosopher.
Yeah, a really incredible young man. And Lydia Nibley, the filmmaker who met him in a grocery store, and, you know, life-changing, how the awareness, she was already a filmmaker, but she met this young man, and when he disappeared for a couple of weeks, and she said, "Where is he? Is he okay?" And they said, "Yeah, he's in Ethiopia."
Yeah, right.
He's touring Ethiopia, and she went, "What?"
So see how it works, and then I meet her, and then she comes on our show, and we never know where it's going to go, because he actually told us a story about a potholder that had the state of Texas, and when he was 2, he was obsessed with it. So look where that potholder led us, and I think it was Aristotle who said, "Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved."
There we go.
I think it was Aristotle. I'm not sure. I'll probably get all kinds of corrections on that.
It works for me.
Okay. So we are learning a lot today, and then we had great entrepreneurs, young people from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Extraordinary Ventures. We want you to order Christmas candles from them, okay? Because they're employing our young people on the spectrum in a variety of businesses. That was so refreshing.
But you wanted to talk a little bit about, this is a season for giving.
For giving.
And it's also a season for spending. And sometimes people get a little like, I don't have enough money to go around. But you want to talk about that a little bit.
I do, because I know everybody gets hit up this time of year. I know that. And we're always looking at how do we reach people who've given before and make them give again. And it's hard. And I don't blame you if you're one of those people that get an email and you go, oh, they're asking me for a donation, and you click delete usually. But I decided to just look at things a different way. And so I've started asking something of myself lately. What would Mother Teresa do? It's just a question I ask myself in this holiday season. So I wrote an email to our donors saying, what would Mother Teresa write? I wrote this right before Thanksgiving, but it still applies going into Christmas and all the other holidays we have. It's that time of the year we get bombarded with emails, mailers, return address stickers, calendars, little things to make you feel like, wow, they gave me something. And an effort for charities to stand out and demand our attention. Then comes the request for a final year-end donation. That comes after first saying thank you, of course, because most nonprofits are truly grateful. It's understandable in today's wild world and challenging economy, charitable giving is often the last thing we think about. So we're all trying to get your dollar. Charities and nonprofits depend on the kindness and generosity of regular donors at this time of year for their very survival. As I was trying to think of a way to cut through the clutter, I thought about this question. What would someone I really admire write to others in an effort to say thanks? And then ask that person they are thanking if they would consider giving yet again. So that led me to Mother Teresa, because I can't think of anyone who represented love, charity, and compassion more than her. Whether she was writing about gratitude, thanksgiving, prayer, faith, service, or love, what it all came down to for Mother Teresa was living love. What most of us will never be called to live and love to the extent of Mother Teresa. We can all serve others in our daily life. Mother Teresa said that we don't have to go to Calcutta, India, and work with the poorest of poor, but rather we should find our own Calcutta. Mother Teresa said that it is not how much we do that it is important, but that what we do with love. So whether it is roasting a turkey for your Christmas dinner, washing the dishes, or feeding the homeless, serve others with love. And from all of us at ACT Today, all we ask of you is forever to remember us as being grateful for showing us your love in the past. Whether you choose to give again or not, go find your own Calcutta and do it with love.
It's beautiful. You're such a lovely writer, Nancy.
Thank you, Shannon.
We always, and I know our viewers love it too, when you have things that you write, and whether it's something beautiful and moving like this, or when you get up on your soapbox, we thoroughly enjoy it.
Well,
and
thank you.
You're a remarkable person. And I know you have found your Calcutta, and you're an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you, and you found your Calcutta too. And I want all the parents and families out there to know that loving your child and supporting your child is a form of finding your own Calcutta. Don't ever forget it.
Absolutely. We should take a break so we can mop down,
okay,
and then we'll come back to finish out the show. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We've had a tissue break and we're back. Should we talk a little bit about the other study that we had about antidepressant medication? Apparently, according to this new study, does not increase the risk of autism.
Right.
Previous studies had shown that there was a concern. This is a much bigger sampling of people. And what's interesting to me is the more you delve into research, and now doing enough shows with Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, where we've talked about how do you take apart research, it's very interesting to me that there is a mark at which they say, oh, this has an effect, and if it's just a little bit under, they say it doesn't have an effect.
Okay.
And that makes me a little nutty.
Yes.
And I'm always very skeptical, as we know.
Oh, and I am too. I mean, I'm hopeful, and I want to, you know, understand and try things if they're available. But I am very skeptical on what research gets funded and who gets, you know, where it gets disseminated, who's behind. Very skeptical.
So we will say about this that this was a huge study that was done, Danish children born between the period of 1996 to 2006. It's by far the largest undertaken study of a correlation between antidepressant medication during pregnancy and having a child on the autism spectrum, because there were people who asked questions, would this rise in autism kind of parallel
because of the rise in Prozac, Paxil,
that
Wellbutrin
people were taking while they were pregnant. So this study suggests that the previous Danish study had said that there was a 2% raising of risk. Now they're saying that it's only a 1.5, which really isn't significant.
Right.
So for me, I'm like that half point percent. We're saying one we were panicked and the other we're not. It's a half point. I don't know.
I know. That's curious.
But you know, I would love. Obviously, there will be more research done about it, and it puts some of the fears to rest. Because when people are pregnant and depressed, that's a huge concern about, am I hurting myself and am I hurting my child?
Right. And then what about breastfeeding while they're on antidepressants? If they've got postpartum depression and they need medication. So I know that's a concern. And then I don't have it here in my papers, but there was yet another study done on pollution and children. I don't know whether it was in vitro or early stages of life. That concerns me. We live very near the 101 freeway.
We live near a freeway too, and every previous study has shown that there is a correlation between how close you live to a freeway and your incidence of autism.
I mean, literally, our wall is up to the 101.
Well, and I can hear the freeway that's close to us. If the windows are open in the summer, I can hear it. I mean,
you're further away than we are.
Yeah, but I can still hear it, and so we're within that window of, and have been ever since he was little.
Okay.
So in California, it's hard not to be.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah. So.
And then it's interesting because you bring up these things about risks. We are getting back on the biomedical train with Wyatt at age 12 now. We took a break for a while. Well, in a way, because Wyatt's been on the gluten-free, dairy-free diet, which I guess is considered.
Yeah, it is considered biomedical. Yeah.
Right. And some vitamin supplements and various things. But we have not done intensive biomedical interventions in about 4 years. So we're starting them again, and I'm excited about it. But I had to fill out the reams of paperwork the first time you see a doctor, a MAPS doctor, and it is MAPS now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so my husband and I were filling out these applications, and there were literally this much that I had to put "do not know" because my son's adopted.
Right.
About family history.
Yeah.
Now I do know some of the family history, so now I'm faced with whether I do know how to contact Wyatt's birth mother, and I probably will, because evidently this particular doctor, Dr. Dan Rossignol, considers it extremely important, some of these questions about all kinds of, family history and what happened when you were pregnant, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think sometimes I push that, it's even things like what kind of mattress did the child sleep on?
Wow.
And, and what type of formula and all of those questions, along with vaccinations and toxins and various other things, because he's looking, I'm sure, to create a total picture.
Absolutely.
And perhaps we can have him on sometime to talk about why he wants that information, right?
We've tried to work that out before. before in the past and just missed each other. So, but we'd love to have Dr. Rosignol
So
on.
anyway, we are getting back on that train, and at times like that, I wish I had a chip that I carried around with me that I could take out and put in, and just put the chip in to answer all those questions.
Please.
I mean, this would be small compared to what I had to fill out, and it's always like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So keep your records in one place.
Absolutely. They say scan them, that's it. And I think it's interesting that you're getting back on the biomedical train, because we were doing the methyl B12 shots, and we stopped this summer.
You stopped those.
We stopped just to see what would happen, and it just sort of fell off my radar a little bit in terms of, checking back to see, should we start them again. And just in the last couple of weeks, I've really noticed a difference in my son is struggling again to find the words, and he gets frustrated. And had a conversation with him the other day where I had to stop him again and say, you're not giving me the reference for what you're talking about. You're not filling in this for me. All stuff that we saw go away with the methyl B12.
Really?
And then finally, it was, I think, night before last, we were sitting on the couch, he and I, and part of the reason why we wanted to stop was just to get a beat on where we were.
Yes.
We don't want to be getting stuff that we don't need to.
Right.
But also, he had always been really good about getting the shots, and he asked this summer, he said, I'd like to stop this. I don't like getting the shots anymore in my bum.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, I listened to him, and I said, okay, we'll stop it. So we were sitting on the couch, and he was struggling again, and I hugged him, and I said, you know what, honey, I think we're going to go back on the methyl B12 shots. What do you think about that? And he said, well, why? And I said, because I'm hearing you struggle to get your words out. And he said, I would like that. And I said, you mean it's going to, it's going to mean getting the shot again in your butt? And he said, yeah, but I am struggling to be able to say what I want to say.
That's amazing, Shannon, that you pinpointed that. Wow, what a gift.
Well, I mean, we saw, once we started the shots, within a very quick period of time, we saw all of a sudden this language, and not that it was more vocabulary, but it was that he was able to put things in the syntax that other people could understand.
Interesting.
And he didn't have to struggle, and he could give me the reference point. So, it's been a good 6 months, and so we talked about it, and we're going to start that during the holiday break.
Yeah.
Because we do get a little kickback yeast-wise, and I don't want him to be in school, and a lot of times he needs to chew on things. We'll get out his jewelry again.
Right.
When we start the methyl B12.
Okay.
And so then he'll have like a 2.5 week ramp up before he has to go back to school, and maybe that will be under control then.
Okay.
So we're kind of getting back on the biomedical train
it's
too.
a good reminder, I think, that sometimes we stop interventions and we stop treatment, and then we can go back. I've heard a lot of moms say to me about ABA, in fact. We did that, my child didn't like it. And I say, well, I never push, but I'll say what I know works, what is clinically proven, empirically tested, of course, and I will say, I'd like you to reconsider that, because I do believe that for all children, it can have its benefits. So I will kind of, as you've pointed out, that I tell parents what to do. I'm like, here, this is what I would have done, do it.
And I get much better about that, having been around you, because I used to be wishy-washy, and then I've had one parent come back to me and say, you were supposed to be my friend, and you were supposed to kick me in the tuchus, and not just give me the information, but tell me this is life and death. Why didn't you?
This is life and death, right. So I try, to encourage people, if they have stopped something at one point, don't have a closed door, because it was actually, I think I was talking to Lisa Ackerman about Wyatt at TACA, and she said, it sounds like some things that some biomedical could, really be helpful. Yeah. So that goes for all kinds of treatment. You are the best judge of your own child's condition. If you're feeling, maybe, wow, maybe I should explore this, maybe I should try this, you're the best judge. Get to the right professionals. But, if you're feeling that way, follow your hunches, right? Your intuition works.
You follow your gut. If you feel like something isn't right, then, do some more investigation and figure out. But I agree with the ABI. I've met so many parents who say, oh, we tried that for 3 weeks or 3 months or 6 months.
And maybe they didn't have the right provider of service.
You got to have good quality.
You do.
Yep.
And sometimes it's, changing. I mean, we had some issues with scheduling that once we worked out a system, it all worked out. So sometimes you have to stick with things too for a little bit. I've often been saddened by some of the moms I've met when Wyatt was younger and they had older kids. And I remember once meeting a mom and I said, have you tried this, this, and this? And she looked at me and she went, we tried everything and none of it worked. And I thought to myself at the time, wow, even her body language is so defeated. And I wonder I wonder how long she tried some of the things that might, you know, had she stuck with it a little longer. But I get that kind of resignation too. I get that kind of...
Yeah, we understand it.
We understand it.
But we don't ever give up on anybody, including ourselves.
Right.
And especially not our kids.
Right.
So, you know, you jump back in wherever you are and cycle back in and do, and you do what you have to do.
As we talked about at the top of the hour, a doctor down in Florida who's saying that our children can make significant gains over the course of a lifetime, gain significant skills, and never give up hope, that 4-letter word.
Well, and in the second part of our episode here, the group of parents who had made sure that their children, they moved to a place so their children could be a part of the TEACH program, but then discovered, oh, they're aging out of the system, and now what? And so they created something.
Exactly.
This is what it takes.
It sure does.
A whole lot of
takes a
energy
village.
and a whole lot of holding hands.
It takes a nation.
But we can do this. Si se puede is the thing I always say. We can do this.
Okay.
In any case, we're here at the end of the show. Thank you so much for being here for this special extended version of Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Next week, Dr. Doreen Grandpichet will be back with us. Tomorrow, we've got a really exciting show planned for you. We're going to be talking some more about great gifts, and we're going to be giving some great gifts away. I never mentioned what the gift was that we're giving away this hour.
Quickly.
It is Scanimals. We are giving away Scanimals. Lovely little furry things that they scan, and they can play games on online. The Scanimals.
I want that.
And so there they are. Look at them. Look at how cute they are.
I'll play it with Wyatt.
So that's what we're giving away in this hour, Scanimals. If you hopefully you watched to see what the phrase or the word was, and this is what you need to put in the subject title, Scanimals, and put the word or phrase in the body of the email. We'll be giving more stuff away tomorrow, and we're really ramping up now, giving away some big stuff tomorrow. I don't want to give it away, but good stuff. You don't want to miss
you got to watch tomorrow.
So check that out. And Nancy will be back with us next week, and we're having Susan Cross, who is our
lifestyle expert. She's our lifestyle expert she'll have some great things for the holidays.
Absolutely. Can't wait to talk with her. So don't miss out on tomorrow, and don't miss out on next Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me.
And remember, what would Mother Teresa do?
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.